Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Maximum Octane. Joining me today is my colleague, Jason Patel, and we have a wonderful guest, Mr. Bruce Nation.
Good
We're going to
morning.
get into that in a second, but we are at the Waikoloa Hilton in Hawaii. So as you can see from our beautiful background, it's a little cloudy today. It's very fun, and I feel very bougie, like the Good Morning America with the people walking in the back during the interviews. So
Yeah, and we've got butterflies joining us too
we
today.
have butterflies. We have
Wow.
butterflies. So from this episode on, you will see me in crazy outfits again, like last year, because I am the director of fun at these events, and
I think that's a very fitting title.
a very fitting title. And I have my party pants on. I can't see them right now, but aren't they?
Yeah,
they
they
look
are.
like party pants. They are. So Bruce Nation is joining us from California, and his business name is Westlake Independent Automotive. And Bruce, how many years have you been in business?
36 years.
Wow.
37th year now.
Congratulations. That's quite a feat.
36 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. And you just mentioned that you're in your 46th. So did you take that over from someone else, the business?
36.
36.
36.
36
and I started as a one-man show.
Okay.
That was just me and a toolbox.
You in a
Me
toolbox.
and a toolbox.
It almost sounds like an REM song, like a country song. What do y'all think? Me in the toolbox. I think there's a country song in there.
I'm sure there is.
For those of you that are creative, please do that. What ups and downs in that many years? And
Well, I had never written service when I opened shop. I'd just been a mechanic. So my first hire was a service advisor. So I hired a service advisor in the first 2 months in business because I just couldn't keep up.
So you said you start with a toolbox, right?
Yes.
So it was just you and the toolbox. Before that, before you went out on your own, were you like dealership or what are we talking?
Independent. I worked at a dealership for about half of my career as a technician, and then at an independent for about 7 years at an independent. So I had seen both. I had good people to follow, right? I worked for good people, and I learned how they did things, and I learned where their failures were. I got to see where they failed, which was super helpful for me.
so you
And I
thought
was
this
mad.
would be easy.
I was mad at the time when they were failing, right? Because I was losing money. I was working flat rate. I was losing, but I didn't realize that later on those failures would make me a fortune. Really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the funny thing always is you watched what other people did. You picked up some good things, saw bad things. So you thought, I got this.
I got this.
This is simple.
I'm not going to make any mistakes.
Well, I mean, it was a good thing that the first 2 months you hired a service writer, right?
That's right.
A lot of people take a little bit more time before they get into that step in hiring somebody else.
I could not. I'm telling you, the location that I chose, I did not realize how badly I was needed.
Wow.
It was really something. I got busy immediately when I opened.
Well, that is fantastic.
What part of California are you in?
Southern California. I'm in
Los Angeles area or what?
Yeah, right on the. If anybody's familiar at all with Southern California, I'm right where L.A. County meets Ventura County.
Okay.
On the 101.
Awesome. That is a very nice area.
Yeah, it's a very nice area, and the dealers were just really bad, and that's our only competition, and
Good for you.
that's it.
You saw a need.
That's
So many times people miss opportunities because they don't look at where are the needs, where are the holes in the community for different things, whether, even when you're picking your specialization, you really need to look and see. And so you took something that probably was a problem to most people, that there wasn't anywhere good to go or there wasn't any independence, and then, turned it into something positive. So before we get into Bruce's passion this morning, I feel to let you all know that Bruce is known as having the best hair at ATI.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can't go
Why?
wrong with that.
Oh no, his hair is way better than mine.
What?
Look at that.
Mine's starting to go. So.
No,
Oh man.
no, look at that.
Oh no.
That's how we identify
And her
him.
hair. I mean, come on, really.
That's how we identify him. Even this morning, we were looking to find Bruce where was the room. And Jason's like, he wears glasses, right? And I said, yeah, and he has the best hair. And he's like, oh, I know exactly who it is. So Bruce wanted to talk to us about his passion, and he is very passionate about DVIs and doing them properly and all of that. And what drives that passion? Because so many people are like,
Okay, so what drives that passion is First of all, we studied something some years ago with ATI, blue ocean. I think everybody knows what that is, right? So blue ocean, we want to be in the blue ocean. And DVI, when it came out, was blue ocean. It still is, because there's a lot of people still not doing it. And so that was the first thing I looked at, where I said, well, DVI has to be done here, because that's our blue ocean. And that's going to be blue ocean for a long time, because it's hard, right? There's lots of things that are blue ocean for a little while because they're easy, right? They only stay for 6 months. They only stay for this season or a year, maybe 2. But DVI is hard. And because DVI is hard, it's blue ocean for a long time. That's what makes it so good, right? That's what I think. And so if you do DVI and you do it right, you really get you really get what it does, what it can do. It creates fans, not just loyal customers, but fans. It's like its own marketing. Okay, because we all know most of our customers come from word of mouth. We spend a fortune on mailers and Google ads and whatever else it is that we do out there. We spend a fortune on it just to find out, if we really measure it, 90% of our new customers, at least 90% of our new customers, come from word of mouth. And if they're not coming from word of mouth, you should look internal. Right?
Yeah.
And this creates, when you do it right, and you really put the time in, and you create a presentation of someone's car, and you present this to them, it creates, on the first visit, a loyal customer. Because if they go somewhere else after that, they're always going to compare that experience to the experience they had in your shop, right? Just like when you go back to who are we competing with, right? We're competing with the last best experience they had. We used to say Nordstrom. You'd say, well, if you went to Nordstrom, you had a good experience, you had a good salesperson, you had a great experience, and they treated you like gold at Nordstrom. Well, now it's probably Neiman Marcus, right? So that's who you're competing with on Monday morning, right? They were there on Sunday, and Monday morning they're in your shop. You're trying to beat that, right? You need to be the one that they're trying to beat. You need to be that. You need to be at that level. And DVI is at least part of, a huge part of how you get there. That's what I think.
It's really shocking to me how many shops and even dealerships that don't provide that. It's like, why would you not want to show those pictures? You looked at it, you took the time, and for customers to learn and be educated for that. And just that peace of mind. Again, I think we forget so much of what we do is we sell peace of mind, and somebody knows, hopefully, and can trust that when they come into our facility and we look at it and we tell them what it needs and what's in great shape, and what do we need to be worried about down the road, that they can trust in that, and they have peace of mind that they're safe, that they're safe on the road, and if there's a loved one and the vehicle, that they're going to be in good hands. And I don't know why we keep missing the boat on that.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to speak to that a little bit as well, right? So the whole DVI, I mean, most of the shop management softwares now that people are, whether they're coming onto the scene or they're kind of just switching over to that, they all have some sort of a DVI built in, or they work with the DVI.
Right.
So I would say, I mean, there's a decent amount of people that are doing DVIs now, decent amount of shops.
Yes.
Now, what do you guys do at your shop that sets you guys apart as far as the DVI goes?
Okay, so first of all, it's very thorough. It's a very thorough inspection. I hold everybody accountable to it. Service advisors will not accept an inspection that doesn't have everything we want in it.
Oh, you're making my heart sing right now. You're making my heart sing. Did you hear that? Just in case anybody didn't hear that, the accountability and the culture there and the rules are, the service advisor have been empowered to say, this is not acceptable. We will not accept this.
And everybody knows what to expect from everybody else.
There's layers.
Okay? This is how it is. Okay. So once you get there, then you go, okay, so think about how we did it before DVI, right? We had an inspection list, or we have what we used to use something called a JCO. We worked on Hondas only in those days, and so we had something called a JCO. The guys would go through an inspection and they would write down all the things that they recommended. Service advisor would get that JCO, job change order. And we would get that and we would go through and we would just price everything quickly and then call the customer and then convince the customer over the phone that that's what they need. You know, these are the things that you need. And through our conversations and through the way that we wrote cars in and all these things, we hope we build trust. But usually it would take 2, 3, maybe 4 visits before you really had that trust, if you did your job well. So many people using DVI, they take pictures, but pictures just becomes the JCO, right? You've got to make it, you've got to educate the customer with that. It can't be just the JCO. The DVI itself has to explain. The DVI itself has to sell. The DVI itself has to give the information so that you're not just sending a DVI and then having the same conversation. Your DVI needs to, through verbiage and edits from the service advisor, needs to tell a story and needs to create questions, and it needs to develop engagement. We talk a lot about engagement with our employees and how useless an employee is if he's not engaged.
Right.
They're completely useless. And so, but think about customers' engagement. You've got this group of people showing up at your shop every day, right? You got a group of people inside and you got a group of people outside. You need engagement from that group also. Your customers need to be engaged in what you do. Does that make sense?
It does. There, funny thing, and maybe not so funny, but there's 2 things about with the DVIs when I get things or I see a repair order. I've been in this business for much longer than I even want to admit. I own my own shop for 20-something years. And sometimes what the heck you people write or the picture, I can't tell what it is. If a whatever 40-year veteran of the industry is unable to determine what that picture is, the odds of a customer understanding it or the verbiage is slim to none. So we have to take pictures that make sense and use the tools. And, that's a common theme in these podcasts is your resources, your tools, the technology, use the arrows, use whatever else. But I was funny. I had a member that their pictures are just coming out terrible. Just, you couldn't. So she actually hired a professional photographer to come in and say, can you give us some tips? Like, what are we doing? And so she gave some great tips, but the first thing that the photographer did was have them clean the lenses on their phones and the iPad.
Yes.
It was at 80%.
Yes.
So the shop owner, it was Chris Cozen, said it was 80% better, the pictures already, just cleaning the lens. So it's a camera, your phone, everybody's holding them all day and touching them and wiping your face. And the same thing with the iPads. Clean the stinking lenses on that. So she paid a ton of money to have a professional photographer come in
Clean
and tell them
and do it and clean the lens. Put a light if it's dark in your area. Turn the light on or get a little clip-on light. It doesn't. We use these things and they don't make sense at the end because on the receiving end. Mm-hmm. People can't see, what good are those pictures? So I know you're a huge fan of the DVIs and the importance of it.
So, like what you mentioned, right? With the whole, we have to tell a story.
yes.
Right. So
Yes.
I like to think the DVI as like, if someone is reading an article in a newspaper or in a magazine, right, with pictures as a customer, they've got to be able to go through it. There's got to be some kind of flow there. And this is how we set up our inspections to begin with for our technicians to have some sort of flow. Yeah. So my question to you is, how many of your service advisors are actually like technical, like they understand vehicles and all of that?
I've got 2 service advisors. One has never worked as a technician.
Awesome. Right. So
one has. One's accomplished.
So this really brings up a good point, right? Because a lot of shop owners, they're scared to hire advisors that don't know cars.
Yes.
But I think
that's better.
I think that's the biggest strength, because now the technician has to sell the service advisor first. So whatever the technician does on the DVI, that service advisor that doesn't know cars should be able to go through it as if they're the customer.
That's right.
So I think that's the biggest strength right there.
Yes, that's exactly right. So but that's a whole nother subject about sales process versus salesperson. But right. So
for the DVIs, do you take pictures and note things that are so good on the vehicle?
Oh, yeah. First,
I have so many people that say, "Oh, we don't waste time with that. There's nothing wrong with it," you know, and I'm like, why don't you want to show
Yeah.
that so that the customer can see the progression? And I want to know what's operating right. And you know, here's the bottom line, and I say this all the time, and all of you are probably sick of hearing it. We have a duty when a customer comes in the door, they are assuming there's an assumption that we're looking over their vehicle and we're looking over it properly,
Yes.
and we're going to tell them everything. They don't assume that we're going to pick and choose because we don't really care about certain services, or, you know, we don't really care. We don't change tires on our car, so we don't care. They assume we're going to give them the right information. And unless you have the confidence and the gall to stand at your counter and tell your customers, it's a crapshoot. You might get a good DVI today, you might not. You know what? Bruce was out last night and fighting with his girlfriend, so I'm not sure. But, you know, he's going to give it his best. And Jason really doesn't care about DVIs, so he just kind of pencil whips them. And, you know, I wish I could give you a Marty because he believes in it, but he's out sick today. But so we're just going to do our best. I challenge you to tell your customers that. Be honest, be transparent, because if not, you're lying to them. When you know you have a service advisor or technician at your shop that doesn't follow the process, you're lying to your customers. And I say to you, how dare you? How dare you do that? So fess up. Cowboy up, whatever you want to call it, and, you know, have the nerve to be honest and transparent, or fix what's going on inside.
Accountability.
So there's a statistic, right? Some of the DVI systems record customer research time, right? So how long did the customer study your inspection report? And if you look at the reports on that, ARO and inspection and research time, customer research time, are in lockstep.
And in case anybody doesn't know what ARO is, average repair order.
Right. So average repair order follows inspection and customer research time on the DVI. Okay. First of all, if you don't have a DVI, you have 0 customer research time. The customer research is you
On the phone.
on the phone, right? And them on their phone on Google while they're talking to you.
Right, looking at it.
Looking at repair pal prices right there.
Yes. That's their research time. If you don't have what's right about their car on there, you just cut your research time in half.
Exactly.
Think about that. Think about it. If you don't have what's right, you don't have, matter of fact, I kind of pride myself on our inspections. We have way more things good about a car than bad about a car. Always. It's very, very rare for me to have a repair order or a DVI where I'm showing, you know, I've got, you know, 18 things here that are bad and 5 that are good. That's really, really rare.
Well, that's not fair. You're in LA. You're not in Wisconsin where everything's just falling apart.
Yeah, no. They don't deal with rust. They do not deal with rust.
And it's so funny when they're like, there isn't anything on this vehicle. I'm like, what do you mean there isn't anything on this vehicle? There's got to be something.
Yeah.
And again, when you think about peace of mind and educating the customer, I like to know that these things, it gives me peace of mind and reassurance that
So-
the items on my vehicle are good, some of them.
Let me give you another scenario. Let's say it's struts. Let's say you want to sell, you're looking at struts, and struts are just not selling in your shop. Now, that's a long road to get struts. You don't just turn on a switch, okay, and all of a sudden we're selling struts.
Yeah.
But you have to educate your people, everybody in your shop, about why they're needed and so on. But in the DVI, let's say that by 100,000 miles, you'd like to sell struts on every car. Let's just say that that's your goal, maybe whatever mileage you choose, right? Let's say at 75,000 miles or 60,000 miles, those are in the green section. Then at 75,000 miles, they're in a future attention section of your DVI. By the time you get to 90,000 miles, now they're under needs attention, and you priced it. Right? By 100,000 miles, they're in needs immediate attention, and they're in the red, and they're priced again. Okay? Now, you got all of this is coming. Nobody is surprised when you tell them that they need struts at 100,000 miles. And I did this, and strut sales more than doubled. It took a while, right? It took a while, but strut sales more than.
I love that because there's a misconception from the general public, and I understand because before I got into this industry, I thought the car was one thing. If you fixed whatever the water pump, you had a brand new car, and you know, what do you mean something else went wrong? What do you mean there's different systems? Wait, I put a new engine in there. That's everything, right?
Yep,
No,
we're set.
but I think there's a misconception from the public that things break or deteriorate overnight.
Yeah.
And there isn't that in most cases, unless some odd thing. But whether it's your fluids, oil, you know, anything, there's a degradation that happens over time before you get to those, you know, recommended mileages or on the struts or anything else.
Right.
They don't go from being perfect on like suspension to factory specs, and then, you know, on the sixth day they're bad, right? Like there's, and I don't know. I guess we fail as an industry to educate people properly, because that is the general consensus out there that if that was good yesterday, it's, you know, can't be bad today. And it starts with, you know, it starts wearing out. And I don't, you know, it's like carpet in a house. That's what I was trying to explain to somebody the other day. Your carpet in the house, it's not brand new, perfect. And then, you know, 7 years later, it's all wore out and you have to replace it, right?
Right.
It starts to wear out a lot. Everybody's walking on it. They're stepping on it. They're tracking in dirt. And if you don't properly shampoo and vacuum, you reduce, right? The longevity of the carpet. But
Well,
they
I
don't
can
see
take
that.
one step further. Let's take a car that just comes into your shop for the first time. You're doing very thorough inspections on every car. Now you've got a car that needs $7,000 worth of work because it's been going to the Jiffy Lubes and the Firestones, and they've been just doing what they feel like doing and not really what the car needs. And now you've got this car in front of you that just needs everything. Well, you got to put that together. You got to put that ticket together. You got to put that estimate together. You got to present that to the customer.
You got to be honest.
You got to be honest about it, and you got to tell the customer, this is where this comes in. Look, all of these things didn't happen all at once. This has been a progression over time, right? The places you've been taking it to have not been telling you the full story about your car. Now we're telling it to you. But just like everything didn't happen at one time, not everything has to be fixed at one time. So let's make a plan. These are the kind of conversations you want to have. Right now, there's a lot of people just going to say, forget it, I'm just going to buy a new car. And that's true. You got to let those go. You just got to let go.
But that's their decision, right? Our job is to educate them.
But you still got a fan, right?
You
still got a fan. And you still got a guy now that's going to buy another car. Maybe he's going to buy a new car. Maybe he's going to buy something newer than what he has. But, you know, and this is the other thing I get. Somebody comes in, the car needs $8,000 or $10,000 worth of work. You tell them about it. They say no. They go find another car that's, you know, 8 years newer or whatever it is, but it's still 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, and they bring it to you to get inspected, right? You inspect that car, and you find the things on that car, and now you do all the work on that car. And you've got a fan. And a fan, you know, you're trying to move people from new customer, loyal customer, fan. Create a fan, because a fan tells everybody, right?
Yep.
Green Bay Packers fan wears a Green Bay Packers shirt, right?
I thought they had the cheese thing on their head, right?
Yeah, they do that too, man. They do that too.
On their head.
No, I really like how you put that, though, right? The stages of the customer, where they're at, and just converting them to fans, because that's when we're in such a content-based society at this point, where everybody wants to believe in something. Right.
That's
whether
right.
it's, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's just a local person. I mean, whether it's a cartoon character. Everybody wants to be fans of something.
Right.
So with that being said, I mean,
We're fans of Bruce's hair.
there we go. Exactly. Right. I mean,
I think that's just you.
Oh, no. I hear it all over.
we'll see it in the comments.
Okay. All right.
But either way, right? It's just how do we get them from that level to the next? Yes, the DVI is a big part of that.
Right.
But it really comes back to the whole process.
if you don't use DVI, how else? What other tool do we have in our box that's going to create this, that's going to show the customer the progression of what's coming on their car,
And
right?
that's what people want to know, for budgeting, for other reasons as well, is what's coming, what do I need to be prepared for?
That's right.
All of that. What about, Jason, I know it's one of your pet peeves as well as mine about not using the tools and resource and technology. I do see some shops that they spend all this time on DVIs, but then their send rate is like 0 or 1%.
Goodness.
Oh,
But we have the ball at the finish line. Like, why are we not just sending it?
that's the worst. That's absolutely the worst. Imagine you're a technician. It's work to do DVI, and the service advisor doesn't send it. You go up there and strangle the guy. I'm telling you, it's work.
But see, it's right back to the process, right? So
Yeah.
and before you guys got to where you are with the DVI, you had to set up a lot of foundational items to get to this point, right? One thing I still want to really preface is it's not that hard to get a lot of these things put in place, right? It's if you don't have the technology as far as iPads or tablets, everybody has a phone.
Yes.
And usually the phones are actually better at doing DVIs because the camera can get into spots that a tablet can't.
Have you cleaned the lens?
I'm just thinking about going to phones, but this is something that I'm working on at the moment. Right now, we're using the iPad minis.
But iPad mini, right? Another example, right? It's still small enough where it can fit everywhere.
But they use that for their pro demand.
Exactly.
Right? They use it for everything. They don't just, it's like they get so used to this thing. I've got laptops in the shop. They don't even use them. Everything's on their iPad. So I have to think about that when I think about going to phones. So the iPad's just easier to deal with in that respect. So
One objection I get with a lot of members of mine that I coach is that the technicians take a while to do a good, thorough DVI.
Yes.
So I want to ask you about that. How much time are you allotting for technicians? And I'm talking about somebody that's kind of familiar with the process already. They've been there for a little while. What time are we allotting?
Well, DVIs can vary depending on how old the car is and whether it's a regular customer who's been who's been coming to us all the time or a new customer with a lot of things wrong. But 45 minutes generally.
Wow, that's up there.
It is up there, but in that we did an oil change, tire rotation.
Oh, okay.
front
So
wheels.
we're talking about the whole.
We're talking about a 45-minute service.
Okay.
Okay. Some of them take longer because 45 minutes to do an oil change, tire rotation, balance the front wheels, and inspect the car. That's going to be a car that's in pretty good shape. Okay. But once you've done it on a car, once you've done it and they come in for the next service, you're going back. You're looking at things from the last time, right? Now and you're showing progressions. It goes faster. And the guys get good at it.
Yeah.
They really do. And then the edit time, they get good at that also. But it's work. It is work. But there's a lot of things that we do that are a lot of work that don't pay off. Really,
No
there
kidding.
are. And if you do DVI right, it pays off. I mean, it really pays off a lot.
So what you said, right, where you get better at it as you're doing it.
Yes.
But also it has to be a good DVI to begin with.
Right.
So I know a lot of people with the shop owners that have struggles with, hey, our DVIs, they just take forever. It doesn't matter if they're coming back or whatnot. The problem is you're not doing a good one to begin with.
Right. You got to have a good process. But there's lots of people out there. There's lots of, like I'm associated with Autotech IQ. And
Yes.
They do their webinars on, and they talk a lot about what a good DVI is, what a good process is. And you can go through those. It doesn't cost anything to get certified and go through those. And then there's just a lot of good information out there.
I think we forget too that the DVIs, you get to make the order that makes sense. You get to make the
Yes.
order of it that has a good flow. And sometimes when I see them, like when I go on a shop visit and because when they start complaining how long it takes, I'm like, I'm going to go do a DVI in a car. And they're like, you're going to get it, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Let me have it. And then I'm like, holy cow, they got you walking the front of the car and the back of the car, looking at stuff, you know,
Yeah, how
put
many
up in
times
the
you got
air,
Up and down.
then you
Oh,
put the
right.
car
Yeah.
down, and then
It's
you're
got to go up
putting.
once, down once.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
I'm like, holy cow, if we can revamp the order of this.
Draining oil, you're measuring tires.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Or they do everything separate. Oh, standing there watching while, you know, oil's draining or
Yes.
whatever else. So go through it and go through it with your technicians and see if you can tweak it, because that's part of it, is making it, you know, you can get canned ones from the companies that provide DVI platforms, but that might not be the best order and format and the flow, because to keep racing a car up and down and all that, I'm like, oh my
You
gosh.
got to engage your technicians in this. You have to
Yeah.
engage, and there has to be constant change. The change has to be constant. When you see something that's not working, you have to watch.
Right.
When you see something that's taking an extra 15 seconds, you got to change it.
Yeah, look at it constantly and keep tweaking it, because you make one doesn't mean you just leave it and never look
That's with
again.
everything in our shops. Like, you know, how far do they have to walk to get oil, right? If it's not overhead, you know, all those things need to be looked at, because whenever you look at a shop, how much, what's it up to now? A minute that a technician spends not working on a car. Technician with a car, with a job in his bay, not working on the car. What is that? $10 a minute?
Probably.
Probably more than that.
It used to be seven. It used to be seven. Now I'm sure it's more than 10.
Yep.
No, a lot of shops are $200
Yep.
an hour now.
Yeah.
So divide
We
that by
are.
60.
Too.
Yeah.
And so that's anything you can do to speed that process up.
You know, somebody told me a story a long time ago about the vehicle inspections, and they had a customer come in, and we used to come in for a long time, and they never talked about what the person did. And when I finally convinced them to start doing the DVIs, you know, for it, and they presented it to this customer, the customer's like, do you know how many years I've been waiting? And he said, what do you mean? So this person was a clothing salesperson and made a lot of money, was really good at it. And he said, what I would do I would kill to be able to go inside someone's closet when I'm selling clothes and see what they have in there, right?
Yeah.
And then know, what do you need to upgrade? What do you need to get rid of? What are they missing? And he said, you've had that this whole time with me in my vehicle, and you've never done it. He said, you're walking in my closet and saying, here's what needs to be updated. These are the pieces. And I thought, gosh, what a great kind of analogy of that. Yeah. And, you know, the shop owner was just blown away. And he said, Kim, I felt so stupid when he said that to me.
They're going to make a museum out of your closet.
No. How many bags did you bring here? Like 3 or 4?
Listen, I have it down to a science. Talk about processes. I'm doing it a few times. So I have a large suitcase and I have a medium that is packed. And then I have my little carry-on for any like little extra stuff and
like
backpack. Well, yeah, the butterflies fit in there. But all right, so my new the packing cubes, if anybody doesn't have them, do you use packing cubes?
No.
So they're just like zipper, they're like little bags.
Oh, yeah, I have that.
I do.
Yeah, and you put the stuff in there and smush them in. So I get a ton of stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Makes it
I'm
easy
very
to pack,
efficient.
easy to unpack, easy to
Productivity,
repack.
efficiency. I pack things by like outfits and days for the conference, and
Wow.
yeah.
That 45-minute service, I pay the techs 1.2 hours for that.
That's what I was going to ask you. So
I pay them 1.2 hours for what we call a minor service.
Okay.
And that's what we do. I offer a straight oil change, which gets less of an inspection. I do 1 or 2 a week. We work on 70 cars. So if you think about how we sell, right? The service advisors are selling that minor service. They get that minor service. It's done at a discount. It's loss leader, but it gets the inspection done. I pay the techs the 1.2 hours because I know that I'm going to get it back.
Right. The
I
ROI.
know I'm going to get it back. Our average repair order is really strong.
awesome. So, well, you just answered my question,
Yeah.
really. But I do want to go one more thing for the viewers.
Okay.
If you were to pick the top thing that your techs do in a DVI, what would that be?
The top thing that they
Yes.
do.
That sets you guys apart, because there's a lot of shops doing DVIs. What is the top thing that your techs are doing? Because I know the service advisors, they can edit, they can do the arrows and all that. But
Right.
what is something that your techs do that sets your DVI apart?
They take pictures of the outside of the car first,
Okay.
in the spot that the customer parked it.
There we go.
They do that. They get key on, engine off. Do all the warning lights work? Are any of the warning lights on? It starts right there. And I think
Nothing
that-
worse than when the customer
Yeah.
gets in after an oil service and they're like, my check engine light's on.
and
It
you don't
wasn't
know.
before.
You don't know if it was on before or not.
No. So it's back to the basics.
Back to basics, absolutely.
Just
Back to-
digitizing it, but going back to the basics.
Don't skip any steps.
The other thing you have to get away from, the mindset that DVI is there just to cover us, just to cover up your. That's not what it's there for. You assume that the customer trusts you. You got to go in with that mindset. You got to assume that the customer trusts you. You got to assume that the customer's not going to tell you that there's dents in the car that weren't there. You got to assume that there's trust if they believe what you're saying. Then you go in with the mindset, we're going to use this to educate the customer.
Well, they want us, they come in and they assume that they can trust us too, right? So,
That's right.
and it's a two-way thing when
Right.
you're starting out that relationship. They should be able to
Trust is
come in with the
trust should be
assumption of
assumed
trust.
the whole way through.
Right.
And if you assume trust and then somebody doesn't trust you, it's
deal with
it's on them. It's them that are creating this. And then now it's up to you. You get a little bit of a challenge. Now you got to create this trust, and that DVI will create the trust. But at first, you go in with the mindset that everybody trusts me, right? The new customer's never met me before. He trusts me. I'm behind the counter. I've got all these computers here. He trusts me.
Well, we are the professionals.
We are.
So that trust should be there.
That's been, by the way, a huge shift in this industry. And I think a lot of people don't realize that customers do trust us now.
They do trust. They come in and again, assuming that we're going to be honest with them and transparent.
And it
so
didn't used to
we
be
own
that way. It didn't used to be that way.
Transparency is trust.
Absolutely right.
Excellent. Well, this was quite delightful.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Thank you for joining us today.
I hope everybody got something out of this.
I think so. And I hope it inspires everybody to just, if you're not doing inspections, if you don't have a DVI yet, please do a paper one, do something, use your phone, email photos, but look into a digital vehicle inspection because we are in 2025. We want to charge the rates for professionals and all the tool investments and all of those things that we make. Let's act like it.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, cars are taking pictures now. So why are we not taking pictures of the cars?
That's right.
I mean, we're at it. The technology is there. Accessibility to the technology is there. I mean, it doesn't even cost anything at this point for DVIs. Let's just do them.
Yeah. So get your culture right. Get your DVI started. Make it happen. Look at it as though they trust you. It's a way for you to educate and create fans.
Yeah. And accountability. Don't forget that.
accountability.
It's not a bad word.
Well, that's my takeaway right there. Create fans.
And by the way, every single person in my shop, right down to the receptionist, makes more money now because we do DVI.
Wow.
Everybody.
Love it. Pay it forward.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you as always for joining us. And
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
everybody stay safe and make good choices. And we will be back with another episode from this beautiful location that I wish it would get sunny so you can see. Love to turn the camera towards the
You can
waterfall.
see my legs, man. They are red.
And you see the waterfall
The sun's
behind.
been out.
Yeah, the waterfall behind Bruce's head. I don't know what you can see in there. So, all right, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.